Hey everybody, it's Chris Plante, editor-at-large at Polygon.com. We're about to go meet up with Zach Gage, one of my favorite indie game developers. He's going to show us Guts of Glory. It's a post-apocalyptic card game, and you must eat to survive without spewing up all your cards. I'm pretty excited. Let's check it out.
The whole game was designed in 3 days.
Was that intentionally? Or was that the game jam? Was like,
no.
I just got 3 days.
Well, so I had all these different projects going on, and usually the way I work is I sit down and do one project at a time.
Yeah.
But because I had been working on like a million different things, I constantly was like pushing off the No Quarter project. And then it got to 2 weeks before it, and I was like, oh, well, now I only have 2 weeks, so I better drop everything and make this happen. So like, well, what the hell could I do in 2 weeks, and what do I want to do? And then I was like, oh great, I'll make a board game. But this was 2 weeks before, and I was like, hey Jess, do you want to do this thing with me? It'll take, you have a week to do the art. And he was like, sure, yeah, I could do that. And I was like, okay. And so I started contacting card people, and they were all like, oh, we need a week to like print shit. And I was like, oh no. So then I went back to Jess and I was like, so you have 3 days and you have to draw like 30 cards. And he was like, okay. And then he managed to do it. And I somehow managed to make a game that functioned in 3 days at the same time. Every turn you flip 3 cards out, then you have to take 1 card from the center and put it in your mouth, because it's an eating contest, so you have to eat every turn. So there are a lot of ways that you can be forced to spew. I could force feed you a food. You could have all condiments, and it could be all condiments. You could have all 5 cards full. You could swallow cards that makes you spew. There are a lot of ways. And so what happens when you spew is whatever you spew gains glory, because it's more glorious to eat something that somebody spewed at you than to eat something off of a plate. So now a card that was originally looking good, like the shiny thing, is actually a worse card to have in your mouth, because you have to spew something, and if you have to spew that, it's a card that is easier for me to chew.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to have it where every turn you have to make sort of a horrible decision, and so that's where the kind of strategy overlays on top of all this open information.
It's already being horrible. So I'm going to put this down, and then you're going to make me spew, and then it's going to be a one take.
We are building a world it's a post-apocalyptic eating contest, but there is sort of a logic to everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite know what the logic was when I was designing the cards, but I knew that there was some connection. And we have like the mutant boot, which is just a normal boot, which is like, makes you sort of question the world state. So like there was a lot of like world building that went into these cards. We wanted a card where when you swallowed it, you got to pull a card from the discard and put it in your mouth, which when we were talking about this card and we were trying to figure out what it was called, I was like reminded of this story that either I remember it or my mom just told it to me so many times that I think I remember it. But basically she was eating and she like had a piece of broccoli, and she was like, do you want this? And I was like, no. And she's like, you sure you can have this piece of broccoli? And I was like, no. And then she was like, okay. So then she ate it. And then I was like, I want that piece of broccoli. And she was like, I can't do it. I already ate that. And like, I was like, no, I want that piece of broccoli. And she didn't know what to do. And then I started crying because I like wanted the piece of broccoli. But I feel like that's like a fundamental lesson about how the universe operates, is that like sometimes you make a choice and a thing will be gone because someone else ate it and now you can't eat it. Like that is just the law of the world. So I thought about that and I was like, wow, like this card we're making, it like undoes this like incredibly basic lesson that I learned, that like, and I was like, man, what would the world be like if like you could undo that? And so the idea with the card in the narrative is that it allowed everybody to have whatever they want, and because of that, the apocalypse happens.
It's weird that it feels so perfect. It feels insane. As you're explaining it, I'm like, I don't know how it makes sense. And then at the very end, it's like, that's in a weird way that all works.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely felt like we'd uncovered something when we figured it out. Yeah. And then we were like, okay, yeah, that's what happened. And then Jess was like, man, I wish we'd planned this from the beginning. And I was like, I think we did.
Yeah.
Like we might have by accident.